For nearly 30 years, our guest today, Geoff Curtis, built a powerhouse career in communication, all the way to Chief Communication Officer. Then, almost overnight, it was gone. Today, he joins us to talk about burnout, identity, and his powerful new book, Embracing Your Own Purgatory. Jeff, welcome to the Career Evangelist Podcast. We are glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you for joining. So, after nearly 30 years building your career, you became a Chief Communication Officer. How did you personally define your professional identity before you were let go?
It's a great question. And the simple answer is my identity was as a communicator. It's really the only thing that I knew and the only thing that gave me relevance. And so I wasn't defining myself as Jeff the person. I was defining myself as Jeff the communicator, whatever role I was in, whether it was chief communications officer or account executive at a PR agency. I was defining myself as that job. And over my entire career, I became so enmeshed that in that career that I really didn't know anything else. And it became every part of my being, as I'm sure it has for a lot of your listeners.
Yeah, that's so true. So, is there a way we can separate our personality from our job description? What are some tips that you can share with us, Jeff?
Well, I do want to address that first because I think those of us who are so enmeshed in their career, it's almost that the job becomes the purpose as well, because you identify so much with the company and career that the purpose of the company becomes your purpose overall. And I think that's the first piece in separating. It's really introspectively asking yourself, who are you without the job that you're doing? Who are you as a person? And that's a tough question to ask yourself and really do that work to dig in to really start to bifurcate. Okay, who am I outside of work? What am I doing if my calendar's not full? What gives me the energy to get out of bed in the morning? And if the answer is job, 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 then you really have some work to do. But the tip that I have is one, understanding how enmeshed you are in your career and really asking yourself, but also doing that exploration to really understand what gives you that purpose. I'll tell you one quick story. I was doing an event last night and somebody asked me about just the job overall and finding another job after I left. And somebody asked a follow-up question on, is job the right word or should it be purpose that we're after? And I think that's a valid question. And I think that gets to the heart of kind of unraveling yourself from a work identity is to really understand again who you are, but what your purpose is. And maybe we should be asking ourselves that question to start that disentanglement process.
So, why is it that more people are not asking this question? Because I think you are spot on. There's purpose, there's job. I'm thinking that the need for survivor is not giving us that opportunity to go into that exploration mode to discover more about ourselves. But I want to hear from you. Why do you think more people are not doing this self-examining process?
I mean, why disrupt the structure that you're so used to? And I think that's the key piece. If we are so used to the structure, to the drive, we're all high achievers. That's a hard thing to start to explore when you're so comfortable in the structure that job is providing. You bring up a great point about kind of the need for survival. And I think some of it goes beyond survival of getting a paycheck, paying the bills, and all of that. We get very comfortable in what we do and used to what we do that I don't think we want to disrupt any of that by trying to explore other scenarios. There's a lot of fear there.
Yeah.
There really is. There, and again, as I just said, there's comfort in the structure. So why confront something that may be fearful or something that totally upends how you think about your job and your life? That's a bit scary.
Yes, it is. So you mentioned high achievers, and I know high achievers, they want to continue to climb the corporate career ladder. That's the mission. They go after the mission. So, but sometimes they get disrupted as well. Why do you think these high achievers often struggle the most after layoff or any major career disruption? Why do they struggle?
because because we've been so focused on that drive, and when that drive goes away, you're kind of lost. You're almost a rudderless ship in trying to find that direction and what gives you again that feeling of accomplishment and success. I'm asking a lot of people now who were higher achievers who have either been transitioned out of a job, been laid off, or in my similar situation, what does it feel like? And I think the shock to the system is the calendar's not full anymore. There's nobody asking you for your time. The
Yeah.
follow-up becomes less and less. The email traffic becomes less and less. And for high achievers, that's an environment where we thrive. We want to be seen, noticed, asked for advice. And when that goes away, that emptiness that exists is very difficult for people. And I did it myself, to be perfectly honest with you. When I left my job, I was filling my calendar every day with things that I thought were meaningful, networking, advising people, mentoring. And again, those are all meaningful things. But I really had to investigate, was I just keeping myself busy because that's what I was so used to? And I needed to feel that accomplishment. And I think part of the direction now for me is understanding what gives me that drive in a different way with a different set of metrics that
Yeah.
I'm used to. Because that's the other thing with high achievers. We were used to those metrics that we had. Whatever the job was, we all had metrics that measured our success.
Absolutely.
And when those metrics are stripped away and you have to find new ones, again, very difficult and scary.
It is scary. When you mention those calendar, and for me, I work today 9 to 5, and when I look at my calendar, when I see all those meetings fill out on my calendar, it gives me the motivation to go after I hit the day, get my cup of coffee, and ready to go. So if it becomes empty,
Yeah,
then
that's what I would ask you. How does it feel when it's empty? I mean, seriously, I bet you it's a little bit stressful.
yes, it is. So yeah, you came up with a book, Embracing Your Own Purgatory. What is your motivation for writing this book?
So a couple of things. I'll tell you how I got to the point. After I left my job, I did a fellowship at a university here in Chicago. And then I started consulting a little bit because, again, there was still that pull back to that old identity. And then, honestly, I got very depressed because I didn't know where I was going. I wasn't satisfied with the consulting that I was doing. And I just wasn't satisfied with my life in general because of the emptiness that existed and really the struggle with that relevance and identity. And I knew that I had a book in me. I just didn't know what it was going to be about. When I first started concepting the book, it was going to be about, oh, here's a communicator who can't communicate his own transition and who had been communicating for other people for
Yeah.
his entire career. And now he can't communicate for himself. But then I started diving a little bit deeper and really looking at my career patterns, things that I've done, emotional avoidance, all of those things, and really started getting introspective about just how I had operated and what I had done that caused me to get to a place emotionally and psychologically that I was in now. And so I needed to write the book for myself. It was actually a form of therapy. It was very cathartic. And that was my motivation. I needed to really do the work, ask myself that question I brought up early: who am I without the job? And really look at my entire life and career. So I was motivated in doing that, and it allowed me to really dig deep in my mind and look at my experiences and understand better who I was. So it was really, the motivation was for me to understand myself a little bit more. And now kind of the after effect of that is people are now seeing a lot of themselves in stories in the book, which again, I knew was likely going to happen, but it wasn't the intent in the beginning. The intent was how do I kind of put words to my experiences over the course of the last 30, 40 years of my life into something that is meaningful for me and helps me, I guess, for lack of a better term, heal in a way that was meaningful.
Oh, so good. So, I was speaking with a colleague of mine in the office this week. He turned 58 and he told
Hmm.
me he's retiring. And I was asking him, why are you not waiting till 60? He said he was ready. So I asked him, what are some fun things that you are going to be doing? Because he's not going, no longer going to be in the corporate America. So he said he's going to be hiking, he's going to be taking road trip. So Jeff, did you find some fun things to do maybe after you transition from your job?
Yeah, I mean, outdoor activity, yes. My wife and I are big hikers as well. So it's funny that you bring that up. We are big hikers as well, and we go on several hiking trips a year. So that's always been fun and kind of a good escape. I will be honest, where I'm finding the most fun
Mhm.
is defining my purpose. And that's been kind of the fun mental piece of this as well. My wife and I just announced actually this week that we're launching a nonprofit focused on first generation college students who are majoring in public relations communications. And we're providing a 2 year fellowship for them. And I have identified students at 6 different universities in the US.
Oh,
And we're going to start working with those students in September. There are 23 fellows who we have. And that's actually been fun
that's
because I'm still tied to the industry that I loved, but in a different way and giving back in a different way and trying to help foster a new generation of communicators. And I know that sounds weird because it sounds like work. It is work, but it's so much more fun mentally for me. And that's I think I'm getting to a place where I'm finding real purpose, real passion in something that is going to be meaningful and hopefully change lives for a lot of students for many years to come.
absolutely. I was going to mention the word purpose in what you are just starting. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. So, for someone going through a layoff or redundancy right now, what's the first thing that they should do emotionally and practically? What do you think?
Take time, take the time. And again, I know it's hard to say, and I'm not saying to take a month to figure it out, but take time to just be in the uncomfortable space to understand, again, who you are, the work that may need to be done, and to determine if the whatever the next move is the right move. But I repeated a very bad pattern throughout my entire career where regardless if I left a job or something became redundant, I would leave on a Friday and go back to work on Monday because I was, again, that high achieving mindset was driving me. And I never took the time to just sit and be still and understand exactly what I was doing, what I had done, do a postmortem on the last thing to make sure that the new thing that I was going to was the right thing. And I think as hard as it may be for people to just sit and be still and be uncomfortable for a little bit, that's my number one recommendation. And again, it doesn't have to be for a month. It can be for a couple of days, but I think we owe it to ourselves to really understand what we just went through, regroup to understand what we're going to do, and to just take that time to understand ourselves a little bit better before we rush to the next thing.
Okay, so speaking of nesting, so let's say right now, people listening to us, some of them maybe they've gone through layoff or career gap. How should they talk about this career break or gap when they are interviewing for their next role? How should they position themselves? I want you to help them.
Well, I don't think there's any shame in saying that you're on a career break. And I've seen more and more people, frankly, on LinkedIn say that they've done a career break and actually being proud that they're doing that and being open about doing that. I don't think in today's world that there's any shame in talking about taking a career break, taking a mental break, particularly if you've had a very good career up to that point. I think people understand that there is a need for a break. And if you can articulate it in a way that makes sense to whoever you're interviewing with or a future employer, that I needed to take some time after my last position. I need to just explore kind of what I've been doing. I needed to ask myself some very difficult questions or serious questions about what the next move is. And I think I'm at the point in time where I can now articulate exactly who I am and what I want to do. But I don't think there's any shame, again, in talking about a career break. There's people do it for different reasons. And so that's why it all comes out from just explaining it in a way that makes sense to you, but also articulates kind of who you are and what you've done as in your career, but as a person as well.
So, what are some key takeaways from your book, Embracing Your Own Purgatory, that you want to share with my listeners?
I think it's the first thing is let your identity be provisional. It's let your career identity be provisional and really take a deeper look at that aspect of your life and how enmeshed you actually are. Um, really explore your purpose. Really explore the purpose, what your purpose is outside of the job, and what do you like to do. And as we talked about before, really be aware of your feelings. If you are a high achiever, if you are a high driver, what does it feel like when the calendar's clear versus not clear? And how does that make you feel? Again, the best thing for me is that I'm just more attentive to those feelings and kind of triggers from my past identity and how I'm operating in my new environment now and trying to shed some of those old habits. So a lot of it is just about general awareness overall and how you are acting in certain situations. But again, let your identity be provisional, really pay attention to kind of the high achieving traits and how you feel when things aren't as busy as you would like them to be. Um, but it's also honesty and permission, frankly. One thing about this book, it's not a plan. I don't offer a plan for people to get out of purgatory or get a job. I offer permission for people to be honest with themselves and to understand that it's okay to be unfinished. And by that, I mean, you're not perfect and the perfect scenario is never going to be laid out, even though we think we may be chasing it. It's okay to be in a space where you're unfinished and unsure about what that next thing may be. And so I want people to have that permission, not only to be honest with others, but be honest with themselves. And I think the beauty of a lot of this is that there's a lot of conversation that's happening in my circles and outside of my circles about this book. And people are just starting to be a little bit more transparent and a little bit more honest. And I think that's helpful for people, regardless of what situation they are in from a career and life standpoint.
Yeah, so good. I'll say for people to be a little bit more human because
Yeah.
we go through ups and downs in life. There's no straight path. So, Jeff, I'll ask you this now. What does a successful career look like to you? Maybe compared to maybe your opinion 5 to 10 years ago?
Um, it's a great question. And I think I'm learning. I don't know if I know yet. But I think I'm getting to a place where I'm finding out. And back to the nonprofit piece, I think that is going to be kind of the new map to define and answer that question you just asked me. Um, because now I don't know that success means as much, particularly when you're dealing with, I have 23 students or fellows now who I'm going to be supporting for the next 2 years. And I'm rooting for their success.
Mhm.
And I think through that, that may determine success for me. If they're successful, I'm not going to, or not successful in their future career, I don't know if I'm going to be overly concerned with that I have failed. But I'm hopeful that just seeing kind of how they progress and what they do will give me that energy that may not be success as I used to know it, metric driven success, but success from a purpose standpoint. And so again, I know it's a little bit of a winding answer that I gave you, but I don't know, and I'm kind of excited to find out. But I'm thinking that I may be getting close to an answer, and it may be through the experiences that these students are going to have that I'm going to say, "Wow, I don't know if I'm going to say the word success. I may say the word proud. I'm proud of what they have accomplished. I'm proud what we were able to do. And I'm proud to say that we were responsible or partly responsible for launching a very meaningful career for a young person." And again, I hopeful we could all, and all your listeners could get on board with something like that as a determinant of success, so to speak, in a different way. But it's going to not be the same thing as it was 5 to 10 years ago, as you asked. It's metrics are different, and I have to determine what those are.
So this is purpose, not metric driven, as we used
Yeah.
to, as we have it in the corporate world. So now, if you could coach your younger self, the rising chief communication officer, what's the one thing that you tell him?
Be more present. Be more present for your friends. Be more present for your family members. I think, again, as I explained before, work, and I think work for a lot of us allows us to suppress emotion and avoid things that are difficult and kind of take us away from that comfortable space. That's unfair to the people around us. It's unfair to yourself, and it's unfair to the people around us. And in the book, I write about how I wasn't present for a lot of friends. I wasn't present for my wife in certain situations because I was more comfortable in the job. And I wasn't present for my father when he was laying in the intensive care unit dying. And I have regrets about some of that stuff. And so again, and I'm telling more and more people now who are younger to be present. Just be present for those around you. And the job isn't the comfort that you think it is. And again, I'm trying to repair a lot of friendships. I'm trying to repair a lot of relationships that have suffered over the last 30 years because I found comfort that was really false. It felt good at the time, but that I wasn't there. I wasn't present.
Mm, That's so good, Jeff. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And with that, we go to our rapid fire question section. And this is us trying to wrap it up. So for you, coffee or tea?
Tea. I'm a avid tea drinker.
Oh, good, good.
English breakfast tea.
Oh, sweet. So best career advice that you ever ignored?
That I ever ignored?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry, I don't
No,
know.
no, no worries. One book everyone should read beside your home book.
Oh, I would suggest there's another book that's written by a good friend of mine called Wired for Purpose.
Wired for Purpose.
Yes, by the author is Aaron Strout, and it's an interesting exploration of another career trajectory, but a lot of empathy, a lot of humility, a lot of purpose, as the title says in that book. But there are a lot of great kind of tips through the eyes of another person who was in the communication space. So I highly recommend that book.
That's good. So LinkedIn profile or resume, which matters more today?
LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And I say that because LinkedIn allows you to go beyond your resume and be a content creator so that employers can really see who you are as a person, who you are as a potential employee, hear your voice through that creation, all of those things. And I think the resume is still important, yes, but it's also very static. And
Yeah.
so I push people to LinkedIn all the time, particularly younger and entry level people, telling them take a crack at creating content, post, repost, have an opinion about something because that is attractive to employers, and frankly, it's attractive from a overall networking standpoint.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So finally, hardest career lesson that you learned the hard way.
Um, Accountability. I I was very afraid of failure and couldn't take accountability in certain scenarios. And there was a scenario early in my career where I actually lost the company that I was working for around 50 to $100,000 because I was afraid to tell my boss that I messed up and something didn't happen. And so from that point forward, I learned to be a little bit more accountable and to not be as fearful of the outcome and try to get in front of things a little bit more. But that was very early in my career, and it was a very, very hard lesson. I honestly thought I was going to get fired. I did not. But again, it was an important lesson about accountability and just being upfront, open, and honest in a in the time of what I'll call failure or crisis.
Yeah, so good. Geoff, we have come to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for joining us. I enjoyed this conversation, and I'm telling my audience to go get your book, Embracing Your Own Purgatory. But they also want to connect with you so that they can continue this journey with you. Where can we find you, Geoff?
As we discussed, LinkedIn profile is Jeffrey Curtis, Geoffrey Curtis, Curtis. And so I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I look forward to connecting with some of your listeners.
Thank you very much for joining. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Right.